In this video, we're going to learn how to add rational expressions that do not have a common denominator. So we're going to learn to find the common denominator. Let's start first with regular numbers. Let's start with 2 over 5 plus 7 over 15. I cannot add these two because they do not have a common denominator. So what do? Well, if you notice, I can divide 15 by 5 evenly. So then I can use 15 as a common denominator. But how do I change this to 15? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. So if I were to multiply this by 3, it will become a 15. But if I do that to the denominator, I have to do that to the numerator as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply this by 3 over 3. And the reason I can do this is because basically I'm multiplying by 1. 3 over 3 is 1. And I can multiply whatever I want by 1, and it is not going to change its value. So I have 3 times 2, 6. 3 times 5, 15. Plus 7 over 15. So this is the same thing as 6 plus 7 over 15. So that is 13 over 15. Right? So that's the same thing we're going to do now, but with variables. So let's begin with 3x over 2x minus 2 plus 3x minus 2 over 3x minus 3. So how do we do this? We factor. That's the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to factor 2x minus 2. The common factor amongst these two is 2. And then we have x minus 1. And then I'm going to factor this. It's going to be 3 times x minus 1. And then I'm going to work on a table. I'm going to write, okay, both of my terms have an x minus 1. So I'm going to write it here, x minus 1. Now the first term, on top of the x minus 1, it has a 2. So I'm going to write it here. The second term has an x minus 1, but then it also has a 3. My common denominator has to include every single one of the factors. What does that mean? That the final factor or the common factor that I'm going to use, it's going to be 2 times 3 times x minus 1. So this is my common denominator. So I'm going to go back to my expression, or to my sum. And let's see, on this one, what am I missing? Well, I'm missing the 3. I already have a 2 and I have the x minus 1, but I don't have the 3. So that means that I have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 3. So that's what I'm going to do. 3 over 3 times 3x over 2x minus 2 plus, let's take a look at this one. Well, this one has a 3, has the x minus 1, but it doesn't have the 2. So I have to multiply this by 2 over 2. And then I have 3x minus 2 over 3 times x minus 1. Should have used blue. Okay. So now we're going to multiply this. So we'll have 3 times 3x, that's going to give me 9x. And the denominator, I know that it's going to be 2 times 3 times x minus 1. So I'm just going to write it as 6 times x minus 1. Plus, I'm going to distribute these two. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 3x and then 2 times negative 2. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Over, again, the common denominator is 6 times x minus 1. So now that I have a common denominator, I'm just going to treat them the same way that I was treating the other ones. I'll just combine like terms. So 9x plus 6x, that is 15x minus 4 over 6 times x minus 1. And let's remember, x cannot be 1, because if it was 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 times 6 is 0. It will make the denominator 0, and we cannot divide by 0. So that's our answer. Let's try another one. We're going to try now x over x plus 3 plus 2x plus 6 over x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now this one I can't factor, doesn't have a greatest common factor amongst them or anything in common, it's just x plus 3. But I can factor this, and I can factor this as x plus 3. I'm sorry about that. Times x plus 3. Okay? And if you notice here on the numerator, I can factor it as well, and it will become 2 times x plus 3. Why would I want to do that? Because if I do that, I can simplify this and I can work with smaller numbers or with smaller expressions. So let's see what happens when I rewrite this. I'm going to have this equals x over x plus 3 plus 2 over x plus, 2 times x plus 3 over x plus 3 times x plus 3. So if you notice, I can cancel this one with this one, and that will make it a lot easier. So I will have x over x plus 3 plus 2 over x plus 3. Now I have a common denominator, so that's going to give me x plus 2 over x plus 3, and that will be the answer. And of course we still have to find the value of x that will make the expression undefined, and that is x is not negative 3. Now what would have happened if you hadn't factored this and if you had gone through the whole process of finding the common denominator? That would have worked as well, but then it would have been a longer process. So you always want to factor first, and you want to see if there is anything that you can cancel. If there's anything that you can simplify, you do that, and then you keep on working. Let's try another one. We're going to try x minus 3 over x squared plus 3x minus 4 plus 2x over x plus 4. So again, the first thing we do is we factor. So I'm going to factor this as x plus 4 x minus 1, because 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So let's go ahead and work on our table. So both of them have an x plus 4. The first one, on top of the x plus 4, also has an x minus 1. And the second one only has the x plus 4, so there's really nothing else. So the final, which is the denominator that I'm going to use, is going to be x plus 4 times x minus 1. So that's good news. That means that I don't have to do anything to the first term because it already has that denominator. So the first one is going to be x minus 3 over x plus 4 times x minus 1. And the second one is going to be plus, what do I need? Well, I need the x minus 1, so that means that I have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by x minus 1. And then I multiply by the fraction, which is 2x over x plus 4. And I'm going to put everything in parentheses. So what do I get? Well, I'm going to have x minus 3 over x plus 4 times x minus 1 plus, and I'm going to distribute this. So 2x times x is 2x squared. And then 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x over x plus 4 times x minus 1. Notice that it doesn't matter if I have x minus 1 times x plus 4 or x plus 4 times x minus 1. It's still the same thing. And now we just combine like terms. So I only have 2x squared. Then I have x minus 2x, that's going to be negative x. And then minus 3 over x plus 4, x minus 1. And the values of x that I cannot have on the denominator are x is not 4, negative 4, I'm sorry, and x is not 1. And let's go ahead and work on one more example. It's going to be x over x plus 2 plus negative 8 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. I think I factored this one already. And let's see what we have. Well, both of them have an x plus 2. The first one, that's all it has, so I don't have anything extra. On the second term, on top of the x plus 2, I have an x minus 2. So that means that the denominator that I'm going to be using is x plus 2, x minus 2. So this is similar to the previous one. The first term has x plus 2, it needs the x minus 2, so I'm going to multiply it by x minus 2 over x minus 2. And then, of course, x over x plus 2 stays the same for now. And the second term already has the common denominator, so I really don't have to do anything to it. So I'm going to write plus negative 8 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. Now we're going to distribute the x here. So it's going to be x squared minus 2x. I'm multiplying this times this and this times this over x plus 2 times x minus 2 and then minus 8. I'm just going to write it like this. I'm going to factor now the numerator to see if there is anything I can cancel. So to factor x squared minus 2x minus 8, I know that I'm going to have a positive and a negative, because that's the only way that I can get a negative 8. So it's going to be 4 and 2. And since I have to end up with a negative number, I know that the bigger number has to be negative. So it's going to be plus 2 minus 4 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. So we can cancel this, the x plus 2 over x plus 2. Our answer is going to be x minus 4 over x minus 2. And the values of x that I am not allowed to have are x is not 2 and x is not negative 2. Remember from the multiplication and division that we did before, you have to determine the value or values of x before you cancel anything. So even though this one was canceled out, it is still affecting the original expression, so I cannot have negative 2 because it will make the denominator 0. If you have any questions, write them down and bring them to class.